Hello, all. Welcome back to Move for a Movement. I have with me here today Bernardo Queirós and Inês Carvalho from Diagonal Dance. They are based in London, but are tuning in today from Finland, Helsinki. Diagonal Dance offers communications marketing for dance that we will get into it, but makes dance an accessible language for everyone, puts it out into the community, all that wonderful stuff that I am all about. We're all about at the show. So thank you so much for joining us today, Inez and Bernardo.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, of course, of course. Yeah, so to jump right in, I always like to start with mission statement or sort of core work to get to the meat of what you do, and then we can go deeper from there. Diagonal Dance is a communications agency that rethinks dance as an accessible language to everyone, as mentioned, which I love. I am curious about what that work looks like, what the services look like, what that does to make that dance as an accessible language for everyone. So what is the sort of day-to-day, what's the meat of that work? Curious to hear more about that.
I think I can start. And yeah, this is our mission statement. And when we decided to start Diagonal Dance, that was precisely because as members of the audience, we were thinking about this issue between the artists and the audience. So sometimes what's going on stage, people actually being part of the audience, sometimes they don't get it. They don't get what's on the stage. Sometimes it's too conceptual. Sometimes the ideas are not clear and they are not like direct. So this issue and this gap between the stage and the audience, there are multiple ways to sort it out and to engage these two sides. But for us, we were started thinking about, okay, maybe it's about communications. So maybe it's about the way that we communicate dance to audiences that can make it more clear, that can make them engage more with dance, with the movement. And perhaps they are happier watching a performance because they don't feel, and sometimes we all know that, sometimes you leave a show and didn't get it. And it makes you not want to coming back. So we were thinking that maybe through communications, we can get more people involved in the dance scene. Not only performances, but also classes, also being part of the movement itself. So yeah, that's why we start like imagining this accessible language inspired by communications. And when we say communications, we say mainly marketing and public relations. So we are both, our backgrounds are in journalism, marketing, public relations. So we kind of start using our own experiences and looking into dance and trying to understand the features of dance and how we can translate it into marketing plans, into new branding strategies, into public relations, copywriting, storytelling. So a lot of concepts around communications, around the communications area, but we can definitely connect with dance and with the movement. And that's the way that we try to make dance more accessible. And yeah, we have two sides. We like to say that we have two sides of Diagonal Dance. On the one hand, we have this communications agency providing marketing, public relations services to dance artists and organizations. But on the other side, we also want to give voice to artists and make them also learn new skills that can help them in their marketing strategies. So we have these two sides providing the services and at the same time supporting the sector, sharing our skills and what we know.
Yeah, so but basically we have on the side like the paid house and then on the other side the free house, so and these both sides can combine pretty well.
Yeah.
And so that's why just to make that note as well, just so we have these two worlds combined.
Right. And it makes it accessible for the artist, but also sustainable for you both as professionals.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's that balance
That,
there.
yeah, like, as a summary,
Exactly.
that's a perfect summary.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, certainly. I as a dance writer, I've seen that, and I try to do that work of making it more accessible to a general audience, because I'll always remember my dad took me to a performance once, and I asked him what he thought. He's like, I don't know, I'm not a dance person. No, 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 no. And it made me think, like, when do these walls go up, right? Where you think that this thing is not for you. But with what you do, this accessible language, this, sending these messages of like, you can get this too. This is for you. Over time, of course, but
Yeah.
that's, I think, how you start to break down those walls. Right.
Yeah, of course. And there are like so many ways to do that. But we were feeling since the beginning of Diagonal that this was our contribution to the dance sector, using our skills and using our know-how in terms of communications and marketing to promote a more clear and effective way to reach audiences and to tell the story, what's going on the stage. So it's a new way to tell the stories. Yeah.
Mhm. Awesome. I would love to, segueing from that, hear about the origin story. When did Diagonal Dance begin? When did you get this crazy but like awesome idea? How did it all evolve, this model of what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I will start again, and Bernardo will jump on the second part.
Perfect.
Yeah, the idea of Diagonal Dance started a couple of years ago from my personal experience. I have a background both as a dancer and choreographer, and as a journalist, marketer, and PR. So basically, I was working in both areas at the same time. So it's starting to be very clear in my mind that both careers, they can be combined, they can be the same, and they are useful in the dance sector, because there was and there still is somehow a gap in know-how in terms of marketing for dance, PR for dance writing as well. So we see that loads of people that work in these areas, they don't have a dance background. They have the skills, but maybe they don't understand the artist side in the same way as if you have a dance background, or if you train dance or study dance in a stage of your life. So I start thinking about that, and in my career I start working in marketing and communications for some dance organizations, and I start to realize, like, yeah, this makes sense to use dance and the visual impact of dance, the concepts of dance, to use that to build new marketing strategies, to build new storytelling, new branding strategies. So these both areas can be together. So I start drafting Diagonal on my mind, and then I shared my idea with Bernardo. And that's interesting because he has a music background, so not dance background at all. But he was a member of audience before in dance shows. So he was somehow feeling the gap as well. There's sometimes it's difficult to understand dance and you feel that you are somehow separated of the movement. So yeah, I don't know if you want
Yeah.
to keep going.
So yeah, basically, like, music is challenging. Of course it is, but it's in a level of kind of the entertainment business. But when we come to dance, the challenge is like 100 times bigger, so it's kind of it's they are the worlds, like they seem close, but they are so distant, and so that's why because I love challenges, and I feel like challenging, like it's my drive, it's kind of my drug. Is kind of to come out with this kind of stuff. So I think, why not accepting this, and why not embracing this journey with Inês, and with this team. So this is kind of my background. So working in music and other areas, but mainly music, that made me, okay, so let me try another range within the arts, let's say. But music is more on the entertainment side, but let's try out. And I think we came up here with a business model that is kind of like looks solid now, and is kind of as well kind of rewarding it's rewarding as well, like artists and the dance artists and performers in general raising their voices. And I think we have kind of a good contribute to that as well.
Yeah, and when it started, it was also an interesting time because we started Diagonal in March 2020. So right in the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
And so for us, the lockdown last year was
Yeah.
not that bad.
Was productive.
Because we had this idea on our minds, but we were doing other kind of things. We were busy doing other jobs. So we found in COVID and in the lockdown the opportunity to release Diagonal and to start doing and to start putting this out in the world. So I think it was like a good timing in the middle of the crisis. And that's also interesting because we realized that now the world is so digital, that this project was needed. So people from the dance sector, they were feeling the need of having someone bringing new skills, bringing new stuff, new topics, new ways of working. So I think that overall, we were born in the middle of the chaos, but I think overall it has been an amazing journey during this last year. Yeah.
Yeah, baby steps, of course, but I agree.
Yeah, it's interesting to see people with that extra time. It's like rather than Netflix, I'll make something. I've had this idea. This thing has been brewing, but I haven't had the time. But now I have so much extra time because I'm at home most of the time. I will create this thing that's been on my mind. It's been interesting to see different people do that. Like I know that the show for me was that. A couple other different things I'm doing as well. I'm like, now I have more time. I want to make something productive out of it. I also just want to spotlight for a moment, Inez, you said storytelling, and that piqued my interest because I do think that is really the way to change hearts and minds, but that's not always the goal, but really draw people in, because from when we're infants, right, we are told stories. That is something that is so ingrained in us. And it's like, okay, a social media post, that could be a story, like something to draw you in, like there's a beginning, middle, end, right?
Yeah.
And I always just think that's an interesting kind of framework to think. It's like, I'm telling a story of this artist, what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I really think that is a way, that is a tool for what you both do. It seems like bringing that across, those stories of artists, centering that storytelling aspect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as a dancer, and from my experience, the way that you engage with people comes from the movement, because we all know how amazing is the experience of dancing, and everyone loves that. But the problem is how to reach people and convince them to dance and to move and to join you and move with you. That's the complicated part. And the storytelling here, I believe that it's really, really important. The way you tell the story, the way you are human with words, just like if you use movement, that's the same thing. So how can we translate this experience of moving that is so amazing? How can we translate that into words and tell this story to get people feeling somehow related, connected with it, and decided to jump on board and be part and dance? So that's the main mission. It's to get people moving, watching movement. That's also very important. And and I believe that through storytelling we can really reach the people we want to.
Yeah, and the end goal is like, if you are a choreographer, just like the end goal is like, buy a goddamn ticket to my show.
Yeah.
Then if you have a dance school, is like, okay, so do you want to enroll like for a class or two? I think that the storytelling, it's brilliant, but it needs to be combined as well with sales, and we cannot be naive with that, because it's kind of the end goal. That's how you make it sustainable.
Yeah, there are those ultimate goals of like butts and seats, people in classes. But storytelling and these other aspects, these other ways you're talking about, those methods of actually doing that, just from an effectiveness standpoint, like that's how you do it. But it's just being honest and practical of like what that end goal is, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to that idea of engaging community, engaging with people who might not otherwise be engaged in dance, another part of what you do is bringing dance to community outside of the proscenium stage, you might call it, your traditional theater. So I'm curious about things that you do that works towards that part of the mission, engaging everyone with dance, either if they're just viewing, if they're engaging in social media, if they're actually dancing themselves. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, like this is a hard working process, to be fair, and it's quite a challenging question, but I will try to do my best to answer. So the way that like in now in this digital fever that we are living, so actually like that's why we put out like interviews with other like artists or choreographers or other producers. So that's why we promote as well Instagram lives, just to showcase relevant events of different people around, just different people in the dance sector. And that's why we also had already one season of workshops as well, so trying to bring this knowledge out in a very like simple, low cost way, per se. So that's our contribute to the community around different aspects of dance, because our aspect in the business, like marketing and PR, we don't segment to a particular type of dance. This can be applied to everyone in this sector everywhere. And it's kind of like it's uniform. So that's our contribute, and that's how we kind of approach communities in a very, very humble way. So we help through what we do in a kind of, as I said, low cost way. We provide like 3 different sources, so interviews, Instagram lives at the moment, and also workshops. We are preparing to run a second season of those workshops soon. We still don't know when the time allows us to do that, but we really want.
Yeah.
So that's how I can reply to you in this kind of sense. That's how in these 3 kind of sources how we contribute to community with our expertise and knowledge.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're all engaging in those ways now. Outdoor events over Instagram, like apart from people in our COVID bubbles, so that's perfect.
So we need to be modern people and be like with the times.
Yeah, for sure. And the time is right for that, so to speak, that for what you do generally, the whole dance world is having to rewrite their playbook, having to like rethink everything they do. And some of the things that I've seen, as a dancer, as a writer or critic, I would just never think that would be something that companies would do, but it's like they have to. It's changing that viewpoint that can be there of like, no, we're not doing that. That's not something that, that's not done. Well, you can either like let the mission die, or you can do it. Make it work however you can.
Yeah, and something that now it's part of our conversations is about the idea of innovation. So we need to innovate more now, more than ever before. So we need to rethinking everything that we do and bring some innovation. So on our side, that's the way we bring innovation, through the marketing strategies and through the PR and through this more digital approach to promote dance. But that's our contribution. Right. But we are also seeing amazing things, like different ways of producing events, different ways of touring, the live streaming. So loads of things that needs innovation, and we are seeing that now and it's also like very, very excited to be part of these times where new things are coming up.
In the middle of all crises, that's where innovation happens.
Yeah.
And
sure.
now we are living kind of a horrible situation still. Like things are getting better a bit, but still, and now we are of course frustrated and sad. But I think in a 5-year like time frame, I think we will be kind of, whoa, okay, so we evolved.
Yeah, look
Yeah.
at everything that came out of all that sadness and loss, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was you, Bernardo, mentioned that this work is very fulfilling, engaging with the artists, and you see how it helps them in what they do, evolve their mission, gain visibility, all of that. I'm curious if you have one or two stories, maybe one from each of you, however you want to answer, of a particular artist you've worked with and how your services have helped them in a way that, is notable, sort of jumpstart what they're doing in a really positive way.
I give you
Yeah,
the red carpet.
I was thinking about in general, maybe the first thing that comes to my mind. So not remembering maybe a specific outcomes, because actually the stories since the last year with artists are quite similar. Because the interesting thing is that when we start working with artists, we realize immediately that they are so involved in the work that it's sometimes very difficult for the artist to understand how to communicate what they have to the audience,
Yes.
so to the outside world.
Yep.
So to us in general, and that's a very interesting story. It's about, like, I don't like to say educating, because it's not about educating, but maybe rethinking again this idea of, okay, I have this movement, I have this dance piece, and I want to reach wider audiences. But I'm so stuck in the creative process, in what I'm doing, that I can't understand what the audience will need to be here.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's making sense or not, but that's something that we are realizing in all the
really great. Yeah.
that we are working.
Yeah, and second point is like they just ask like, how do you want me to do social media, write a blog post when I'm in the middle of a creation and everything is like in my mind, I'm like on fire, just like I don't have time to do crappy Instagram or something, so it's kind of this struggle with like time versus creativity, because when you are a pure creative, if someone just turns off your creativity and then just go to do a blog post, and then you are not skilled to write, it's just like it becomes
or a marketing strategy to
just
sell
like
tickets.
How do I do that, so it's kind of this battle between time versus creativity, actually, to get things done.
And how as Diagonal and what we do, how we can help, again, translating what's going on within the artist's mind. How can we translate it in a way that it's more clear to audiences and more effective to convince them to come and to engage with dance?
Yes.
100%. That's so interesting. Yeah, I picked up like what the audience will need, right? And like thinking of it that way, it's like, okay, these people are coming to this performance. They have a certain skill set, a certain perspective. Like they might not necessarily have what they need to really receive the work in a way that it will be most meaningful to them, in a way that has the potential to impact them. And on the artist side, 100%, it's like when you're creating something, I think this will resonate with you both. It could never be done. You could work on it forever. So there's always that drive. And it's different with different artists, to different degrees, but like to just keep honing, keep refining. Well, at some point you do have to put up social media posts and advertise your show so that someone comes. You do have to, do your strategy with your blog posts and like the cross channel, that all of that, because that's the world we live in. And it's totally understandable artists having trouble balancing all that. And it seems like that's where you both can step in and help.
Yeah.
And also another interesting thing, and I think that's That's kind of our, like, part of our secret of our work, but that's something that it's also that we discussed a lot, what to share to audiences. So are we going to share everything? Do we need to share everything? No, we need to share in an effective way what we want to share, because it's also good for audience to be surprised.
Yeah.
To have a surprise, to have a moment of questioning of, oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's also good. So the secret for a good communication is know exactly what to share.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are also busy, and like 500 words, like, yeah, blog posts are great. It's part of an important strategy, but like people are used to 280 characters nowadays. Or like short Instagram captions, you know? So the way that we engage in communication, it's you've got to be realistic about that and who you're speaking to, and just what the context is out there and how people communicate. Totally right. So I'm curious also about, as we mentioned, you're both based in London. Now you're in Helsinki. I'm curious if you've noticed certain trends in British dance, or I'm not sure if you work with artists from all over Europe, or who exactly geographically you work with. But I'm curious if in Europe, in England, if you've noticed certain trends, and if there are things that American artists could learn from with what's happening where you are.
Yeah, I don't know, Bernardo, would you like to start, maybe?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have been working with the British dance scene and with the American dance scene as well.
Really?
And we are,
Yeah, you see both. Yeah.
And despite living in London, we are both from Portugal, which is a completely different cultural scene, even in Europe, but Europe is quite different from country to country. So when we arrived to the UK, and specifically to London, because it's a huge city and it's a cultural center globally, so you always have like loads of things happening at the same time. But for me, and I think for us, the British dance scene focus a lot on community and accessibility. And comparing to where we came from, to Portugal, and our first experience, at least for myself, first experience working dance, it's a different reality, because you have loads of companies in London, around the UK, that focus a lot on topics like mental health, disability, racism, inclusion, so feminism, queer. So there are loads of movements and concerns that are part of the society as a whole, but they bring it to dance, and they try to do something to engage with communities. And also they care a lot about local communities, because London is huge, but they care a lot, like the small communities around the city, their diversity, because they are different, their culture, their background is different, so they try to be more inclusive and more accessible. And to me, that's a very, very vivid, and that's a great place to work in dance, especially because of that. It's not only that of course you have like the mainstream of theaters and you are going to watch a performance, but on the other side, you have loads of opportunities to engage with different dance styles, different communities, different issues, and be part of a more inclusive dance scene. Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like in American contemporary dance, it can be more abstract, and it can be more about the aesthetic. There is that which you're describing about very specific issues out there in culture, mental health, chronic pain, all these different things. There can be that, but there is also a large portion of contemporary dance that is more aesthetic, and that has its value. That's beautiful in itself.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, I'm thinking just in the back of my brain about innovators in American modern dance and sort of what they were interested in. I'm just wondering about those trends versus what was happening in Europe. I don't know. I'd have to look a little deeper.
And we know like loads of like the big names of modern dance in the last century were from the US. And it's interesting because when you study dance in Europe, you go through loads of those techniques and those artists that work in the modern dance in the 20th century.
Right.
Maybe we can say that in Europe, they use that and they try to reshape with everything that is happening, because Europe is also like a mix of countries, of backgrounds, of cultures. And I think that there's a concern now to be more inclusive with different dance languages, with different cultural languages. I think that's something that has been really important right now around Europe and more in the UK.
Yeah. I also wonder about the sort of support systems for artists. And if on the American side, like you get a grant or you don't, and the government isn't really there to help, versus in Europe, like it can be very selective. That can be the challenge. But, you know, there can be a lot more government support, if I understand correctly. So, you know, there can be a fear, maybe, and this is like kind of conjecture, but of getting into you know, such deep, sometimes controversial topics, when like you need that grant or you need people to come to your show. Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. Interesting questions.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's pretty much like that. I've never been like involved like directly or like, but in the American side, but I know it's pretty much as you're saying. Pretty much in Europe, I think despite the strength of the different countries, even if it's like rich countries or like poor countries, it's interesting to know and to see how those countries, like ones of course more and the others the opposite, but everyone has access to funds, to funding and to grants, you know. So I think, and that kind of shapes the way the scene evolves and interacts within, you know. And in the UK is completely that's visible. You know, there are organizations that only work towards funding, and they expect the funding to arrive at all times, you know, because there are that openness to that. And that's for the good, that's for the bad. I don't know, not here to judge that, but that's a stepping stone, that the grants and the government support and public funds have on the European society.
Yeah, and again, as you were saying, like there's no perfect place, unfortunately, and there are always like good and bad. But some conversations that we had with American artists, they say that, and they have some experience in Europe, and what they say is that, okay, in Europe you have funding, so you do an application, you go through the process, you get the funding, you start to create a piece. For us in America, it's different because it's a more like DIY approach. So we need to do it because the government won't give you funding probably. So we need to get the money. So we need to start creating, and then you see how it goes, what happens, and what you can get to keep going. So it's kind of a different. It puts you in a different mindset. Comparing both continents, and they are both like interesting places to work and to create projects. But of course, I feel that in the conversations that we had, the approach and maybe the motivation sometimes are different.
Yeah, it's interesting talking about like how you have to approach it. You know, I feel like a lot of grant structures in America, what's actually required on the grant, it's like you need to be able to describe the work very evocatively. Sometimes a lot of the time you need photos or video. And to get all that, you do need to have dancers in space to like understand, okay, this is what this is, this work. So you're, you know, putting something on GoFundMe or like getting $200 from a relative so you can get space and you know, pay your dancers something, a rehearsal fee. Yeah. Whew. but somehow artists know how to make it happen. Somehow they're adaptable. It's really quite remarkable. Yeah. It doesn't have to be that way. There's a better way.
Yeah, we need to find a balance between both worlds, I think.
Balance is I think is one of the most complicated things to achieve in the world, like everywhere across everything. I think we are always like, oh, we need balance, but where's that balance? Who defines that balance? Who's responsible for that balance? We never see the balance coming. So like not being negative, of course, here, but I think this concept of balance is kind of very mixed up still.
Absolutely. We can always be working towards it. So yeah, sort of we've referred to it here and there, but the elephant in the room always lately, COVID, and being always on our computers and communicating through computers. I am curious about how, well, you started this organization, Diagonal, through COVID. I am curious about what has given you both light through this time, in or out of Diagonal. What's kept you both going through all this madness?
First, I think passion for what we do completely.
Yeah.
And I think resilience a lot. Like, of course, it wasn't easy completely. We were like, because we were when COVID exploded, of course, we were in London. We were like living there, and then of course, because we work in the creative industries and the cultural sector, we have lost 90% of our incomes. So we kind of needed to go back to our home country, which is Portugal. So we had to give it a break, but this break was actually to create this project. This so it, for the good and for the bad, I think the universe gives you things in the right place at the right time. So yeah, this was kind of our drive. I mean, we're like, we could be crying in our beds like, oh my god, we are like unemployed now, what are you gonna do? We have no future. I mean, there's gonna be no future for everyone. It's like, of course, but then we were resilient enough and just like, no, we had this idea in mind, let's at least like put this thing into practice. Of course, we are not gonna take money from this in the first months, of course. We are not silly, but that's where everything starts. Like, you need to find the time. Either you have the entrepreneur mindset in your heart, in your mind, and you do it, or you just cry. I don't know. I don't want to be mean here, but cry means like actually
100%, totally.
letting fear control you. This is kind of the perspective that I pass.
Yeah. And also, like, I think this whole year, and when we go back to that point, to March 2020, and we were okay, so now we have time, we don't have anything else to do, so let's do it. And I think that for both of us, and during that first months, even like in our personal careers apart from Diagonal, it gave us boost to actually realize that, okay, we can create our own careers and create sustainability in what we do as a professionals, and we can follow the careers and the jobs that we like to do, because we have the power to create that. And for us, it was like, for us too, it was like the huge lesson the last year. After creating Diagonal, we thought that, okay, we are creating the career we would like to pursue, so let's keep going. And actually beautiful things happened around it. And I think that's because the mindset changed. We didn't, okay, we can be in our house, but we can find our dream job now because all the world is online. So it's horrible in a way, but let's try to make the best out of it.
Mhm.
So that's the way that we react. Let's make it worth it and a good time, actually, despite all the craziness and all the bad things happening everywhere. But there are good things happening at the same time. So let's try to look that way and find a positive path to go. And I think we discovered that last year.
And also one important aspect here, since the world is completely different, and I think this will remain, is the fact that COVID is giving us all the opportunity to work remotely. So I think the fact that we do not have at the moment any geographical restriction. I mean, of course, now it's very hard to travel. You need to do 100 COVID tests to travel between countries and whatever, and they just want to steal your money out with paying tests. It's a complete mess. But I think this will remain, and this is kind of a slot of opportunity, that the fact that we don't have now geographical barriers and everything is in our hands and everything. I think is pretty much one of the biggest advantages that we are taking during these times, and that makes diagonal dance what it is now, is the fact that we don't have geographical restrictions.
100%. Yeah. I've been able to connect with people, I lived back in Boston, I hadn't talked to in a year and a half, and it's like, now I can take your yoga class over Instagram. There are these ways that can connect. It's not the same, being face to face, but it's something for sure. Yeah. And I totally understand what you're saying. It's a little bit of self-love. You can either make this thing happen, you can either make something of the difficulty, right? You can either find the opportunity in the adversity, or you can just kind of wallow, and the fact of it, there are those two things, it's either one or the other.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all so uncertain. It's like we were saying, that just like the whole playbook, like we just kind of had to throw it out. But to the extent that you can both say, what is next? Are there sort of new projects, new initiatives, new goals for Diagonal that you are building that you can share?
Yeah, so first of all, we'd like to invite you all to visit our newest website. We just had a brand new website. So all of our resources are going to be there. So the website looks way better, so way like more user friendly at this point. So I think it's a good kind of visit card for everyone to know more about us. Also, in the next months, we are planning to return, as I said previously, we are planning to return with Diagonal Lab, which is like a series of workshops in certain topics within digital marketing. So in the previous season, for example, we approached copywriting, we approached targeting and audience segmentation, and we approached social media management, each topic with one expert guest within these niche topics, so it's kind of a whole season of workshops. Everything you need to do this season is still available, so people just need to go to our website, just sign up, and then you receive an invitation to access those workshops, which are inside YouTube, and you have everything you need to know there. So we are planning to do more versions, so more episodes within a second season. And also we have the Diagonal Coffee Break, which is like a monthly Instagram live that we run with several people from different areas inside dance. We are just going to give it a break to that initiative, but we'll be soon returning, probably later this year. And also, we are glad to announce that we are opening like a one-on-one consultations. So more information is coming soon about that. So just actually one-on-ones with us, so we can evaluate your project. And if you want, then in the end, we can give you a code. Or if not, we are just happy to share half an hour consultation with you to try to fix some of your problems in half an hour, basically. And yeah, that's it. And actually, we are expanding our network. It has been very interesting. We are expanding to more countries. Hopefully, we are going to have more clients on board from countries that are not the US, UK, which are our client base at the moment. So hopefully, we are expanding to new countries, which is very exciting to us. It's kind
challenging
of
as well.
challenging, but diving more into the
Yeah.
unknown. So like, I don't know, but someday having a client from Africa or a client like in Australia or something like that. So we are trying to expand slowly our networks and trying to dive into different countries that kind of need us at certain point in time. So yeah, that's everything that we are cooking up.
Amazing. Yeah, the diagonal, like those 3 topics, I was just thinking they're so relevant right now. Like those are hot topics in the dance world people are talking about.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Yeah, and you know, that cross-border work, working internationally, finding, you know, you'll see these countries and you're like, I didn't know there was a really active, vibrant modern dance community like Israel. Like I didn't know that until college, that there's like
huge.
such an amazing modern dance company.
It's huge.
And the thing about dance, it's a universal language, right? So, you know, when there could be language barriers when you're working, but you know, so many people at least have a underlying fluency with with English. But yeah, with dance, that universal language, you can work with people all across the world. I think is a wonderful thing about the art form. Yeah. All right, that is all I have. That was a little spiel about what you're working on. But any other promotions, anything else you want to share before we say goodbye?
I think not. I think we
Yeah,
are good.
yeah, I mean, just visit our website. It's a new website. We work a lot on our brand identity as well. And I think you can discover more about what we do in terms of services, but how, if you are like a dance artist, a dance professional, dance teacher, if you like to engage with our content, it's also possible through the lab, the workshops, through the blogs, the interviews. I'm sure that people will find something useful on the website and on what we do, not only on the services, but also in what we share to the world.
Yeah, and also we are very happy to receive feedbacks and critics. So if anyone is like, oh, I don't like this, and it's like, okay, just tell us. That's not a problem. We really want to hear feedback, and that's how we will improve, and that's how we can serve clients or non-clients, doesn't matter, in a more efficient way.
Yeah.
Right. Amazing. Well, thank you so much again. Learned so much from you both. Really interesting. Look, stay in touch, keep engaged, social media, etc. And thank you everyone for tuning in. We will see you next time. Remember, like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. I was gonna throw that in. All right, have a good one. Bye. Thank you so much.